And I guess I'm trying to put my finger here on the drafters, because we've heard testimony about a small group of folks, 3 or 24 or 12, who actually came up with the standards and then a subsequent validation committee. And then we've also heard testimony about that essentially this is a private entity or a group of private entities that are drafting this and that own the copyright and things like that. So who drafted these? Who owns it?
So I think what you've learned so far is one step of a process in about a 5-step process. And I know that there are numerous people in Ohio who are going to testify next week, who are going to much more specifically describe the process to you, how there were hundreds of people involved in that process, and how that...
I don't mean to cut you off here, but just because you know a lot more about this, as do the people who are going to testify.
Right.
Can you just, is there a group, is there an entity or a group of entities or people who are the owners of the Common Core copyright? Let's start with that.
Yeah, the copyright, Mr. Chairman, is owned by the National Governors Association and the Council of Chief State School Officers.
Okay.
Which again, while the word private is a correct reflection of those two entities, I think the point needs to be emphasized, as we tried to do in our testimony, that the direction of those organizations is driven by state in the case of NGA, state elected leaders, and in the case of Chief State School Officers, many of whom are elected in their states, not in Ohio, but state representatives working together. And so again, I think that's a valuable piece of information about how those organizations operate.
Not state representatives, but representatives of states.
Yes.
To be clear. Okay. So these two National Governors Associations of private entities.
Well,
it's a nonprofit, but a private nonprofit. Yes.
Okay. Are the members governors of states who choose to join?
Yes.
I can't join the National Governors Association, right?
No.
Okay. So those entities collectively hired the people who actually did the initial work product when it came to these standards. Is that right?
Yes, I think that's correct.
Okay. And one of the concerns, I guess, is, and we have members of the media here who aren't as outraged about this as when they can't get the email that I sent to Andy Thompson about going to lunch next week. We can't, the public, this legislative body, the media sitting here in front of you, can't access any of the internal work product of those entities. Is that accurate?
Mr. Chairman, if the question is about whether or not those entities are subject to some type of Freedom of Information Act disclosure, the answer to that is no. And that's true of any nonprofit, whether, regardless of where it's incorporated or where it does business. That said, I think that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. And I'm not, it doesn't bother me too much if I can't get the internal documents of the National Football League or the Cleveland Clinic, because they truly are private organizations. And this is apparently a private organization, but it's, in your explanation, your description is in fact populated by representatives of states who are conducting state business or public business. We're governors, we're school superintendents, so we're acting on behalf of the people because that's our job. But in fact, we're not subject to sunshine laws, Freedom of Information Act, public notices, things like that. And I guess that's my concern is we can't find out what those internal discussions are. And certainly within our own, we have caucuses, we have a variety of other things that we're allowed to talk about outside the hearing of the public, executive sessions, things like that, for specified purposes, real estate, and personnel, and security, and things like that. But as you stand here today with your obviously broad knowledge of this compared to mine, I can't find out, and this committee can't really get internal information about these organizations through a request for information. Is that right?
Mr. Chairman, what I can speak to is that we do not have any information that would add to whatever has been made available in terms of the people or the processes that were used by NGA and CCSSO.
Okay.